Good morning, everyone. Well, markets are up near some resistance. A lot of stocks are up near some resistance from the advance that there was. That's why I titled this morning, Can You Look to the Left? It's so simple that if there was a pivot high to the left, some drop, whatever, there's going to be sellers there. It doesn't tell us how many, but it gives us a bias that as prices rise up to a prior swing high, and many times it takes it out. That's why part of our what we call thought process is when we're looking at prices that if we get a greater than 100% retracement, pull back here, a retracement up to the prior high and take it out, momentum is going to stall soon. Now, what you do with it from there is you have to start adding other MTS concepts. What's the trend? What's multiple time frames doing? What's the market doing? What's market internals, so on and so forth. So that one thing doesn't tell you anything other than that one piece of information. And so now we knew coming back from the holiday where prices were, there was a gap up, not necessarily an exhaustion gap, but it does, give kind of a thought. It's a sizable gap up into the resistance and the end of the quarter and so on. And then this inside day, things went nowhere. But we were expecting that because of the shortened holiday. So now we're getting a gap down. Well, gapping down to the bottom of this bar, and there's a void below. Let's just put the cursor there again. So it stopped at this level, not even a whole number, but it's stopped there. And so now we're going to see, does it going to get back above? What it's going to do? But the void below, and we're going to be talking about this in MT Live on today. I lost track of myself for that day off there. Today, 12 o'clock, we're going to talk about other things, but voids and how to utilize them in your own trading. So with this gap down, what price is at resistance? If this market could lift up this, from this morning gap down, there should be sellers here at this low. We'll see what the reaction is to it. And if it can't lift off, for 15, 20 minutes or whatever, the longer it goes sideways here, or if it lifts off and gets slammed right back down again, your bias should shift that prices are going to come in toward this gap fill. Now we'll have to see what the bar looks like at the end of the day to assess that, and to see, does it return back up? Is it a green bar? So at this point, we're stuck between, this uptrend in multiple time frames, bullish, and what would be the next setup that would support prices could go higher. Of course, you go higher to where? Well, up toward, this area up here for 50, 460. And what we don't want to see happen, of course, is a close below last week's low. So, which would break major support. This level here is very key. And notice it's right on a whole number, 430. So for two reasons, maybe three, you got a rising 20. Right? You've got an unfilled gap. If it goes through that, if it goes through the 20 and prices were to go through here, our bias is going to begin to shift to, hey, this looks like some kind of corrective process is going to be a bit larger than what is suggested here right now. So it's too soon to say, but just pushing that out there that, by the end of we got today, Thursday, Friday, if prices should come down here, obviously more bearish. If it can hang up here, gaps down and go sideways a bit, well, then we're going to look for this to continue to go higher. Right now, we've got a bearish gap down, black and white. S&Ps, we got a wider bar because you don't have the gap. And it's down below this little narrow range bar. So when we get a narrow range bar after several days up near a prior pivot high, it's almost a given that it's going to break the low because it's just got such a small distance to travel to break the low. Now what? Well, you've got a momentum move up, right? That's the gap on the spiders. That's a void. Where's it going to stop? Well, we look to the left and make some assumptions. We look at that and say, well, there's some overlapping opens and closes. 44.50. Okay, that's a decent number. And we'll see. It's not much support versus saying, if it came down here, if it was to come down here and you got this larger congestion area, common sense says, hey, that is much larger. There's more bars there. And so when we look at support and resistance versus, say, a pivot versus a congestion area and pivots around it, common sense says this is going to be a stronger support point than this. But, pulling back here, those that I'll refer to as Fibonacci aficionados that connect dots, that put magic lines on charts, probably lines up somewhere with support and resistance like it typically does. All right. What's McGrath telling me? 44.15 gamma parking area based on AI, likely higher, not only one. You know what you love about these option traders? The terminology. It's so interesting. It's like from outer space, but I get it. But it's fun. And you sent me that article, I think earlier in the week. I didn't get to it till over the weekend, McGraw, but it is pretty interesting stuff. And the guy writes well. But it usually, if you add this more advanced option analysis to your chart, it does add some extra layer of, I guess, confirmation. Because look, options are just like the chart is. Options, high open interest and volume there is a representation of what big money is doing. So when we're looking at SPX, and while there's a lot more retail trading there, it's primarily institutions. So, that's something to, pay attention to. So if these big levels line up with support and resistance, it becomes more potent as a reference point. So we're saying 44.15 gamma parking area. So now it would say, okay, can you translate that into some other language? Gamma parking. So that's a level, I'll assume, that is significant support since it's down below. And so 44.15, what does that line up? 44.15 is down below this little thing in the middle of nowhere, right? So based on where SPY is, it was gapping down here. This is the unfilled gap. So 44.15 is basically in limbo. I would say these gamma levels, just like support and resistance, and we say, like, it could be a fence that could be leaned on. It's not it's not a concrete wall, but sometimes if that happens, it comes down to those levels and it jiggles around a bit, and then maybe it breaks one way or another. But the unfilled gap is down here. You're going to have more traders looking at this as being a high probability entry point where to buy. So coming straight down here, buy setup, especially if it's little mini climactic, there'll be buyers down there. That's a low pressure level where market makers have to do very little hedging. So why would we be interested in it if they have to do very little hedging there? And it comes down there, there's nothing there. So I guess it would make sense. And as we look at where things are being zeroed out here, I see a lot of open interest has moved out a couple of months, like 72 days, going out into later this month. 4,500 is going to be a sticking point, and more so 4,400, which is, where this unfilled gap is going to be a significant level for options, and as well as an unfilled gap. And so if prices should come down there'll be a bit of a battle between supply and demand. That's why I have my alert, that little red line there, which you can see right there. So SPX, and that's right in the unfilled gap below 4,400. I've got 4,395. And this is pretty close, but these really close ones haven't been getting tagged. 4,465 can be considered, and it's up above the high here. But since things are moving down, let's go back to SPY for a second. Let's see where this is. See a little bit of buying coming in here. Not that it means a whole heck of a lot, but just seeing that it's still at the bottom of yesterday's bar. So if you take whatever happens in the next 15 minutes or so, it's not that far away, but at least you got a very significant level down there. All right, let's look at everything else. We can move on. All right, same thing, sideways. Look to the left. There's the pivot. It's coming in. If we close with a red bar today, ideally, for the bull case, tomorrow will be a green bar, and we'll have some kind of continuation pattern. So you got a big round number down at the bottom here. That would be a deep retracement. Since it went sideways here, right, wide range bar, right, we eyeball that and stick that in about in the middle. And where would that be? Probably, let's stick this here. And where does that line up? Oh, a little bit of area of minor support, pivot highs. So somewhere in here, you'd want to see if prices can begin to stabilize. So there's nothing directly to the left, but this area right here, give or take, would be where buyers should show up just based on the technicals. Yeah. All right. Russell, trying to get a bit of a rollover, right? Everything's near resistance. Look to the left. No magic, but you've got last week, not that this is a bear sandwich because it doesn't have a big range expansion green bar here, but you got a really potent 180 reversal. So looking at this, right, there's going to be sellers here. This is a continuation pattern higher. So we do the same thing. The middle of that bar, give or take, is where we want to see prices stay above. Right? So maybe pulling back here a little under the 20. If this comes all the way back down to the lows, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just explaining the patterns that we look at. And sometimes markets get crazy. If this was to come all the way back down to the lows, then we'd be calling this a bull sandwich. What we want to see for the bullish case, this is what we have right now, stay above here, consolidate up here, and that would support a bias that this is going to go higher. Well, right now it's lower, and let's see if buyers show up. We looked at the S&Ps, we looked at the Qs, we got to look at the Dow. Right, same story, right? Different chart, same story. Things are pulling back. Where's support? We got a little consolidation right there to look to the left and see between those two bars there. And what else? Bitcoin down. It's like a bit of a hit here this morning. We'll see where it ends the day. A little of a breakout failure there. But look at that giant Y bar. And give or take, let's throw that bar over there. Right? And this will become a pivot in another day, but So a little selling going on there for whatever reason. I'm going to check the news. Gold up a bit, still in a downtrend. I guess the dollar is down a little bit. Silver coming up. I think, did I read that somebody's talking today? No, FOMC minutes at 2:00. So be aware of that around 2:00. And the euro's really not doing much of anything. So the dollar isn't doing much. I don't know why gold is up a little bit, just based on the movement between the dollar and it. I know I saw oil was up a little bit, coming off of the low, right? We've talked about all of this support, and just bouncing off of those pivot lows there. We'll see if it can get back up here. But so far, oil's being bought. That's pushing up there. That looks decent. And we'll just look at the VIX and hand it over to Dan. It's bottoming. And we've talked about the VIX plenty of times and how it can stay low, but I mean, look at this. I mean, head and shoulders bottom, neckline over here. I guess it has to be a little bit higher. And you can see it's up a little bit. Send an alert. I got my alert here. I'm going to just drag it up a little bit. I'll watch it intraday to see if it actually trends, but we have these markets near prior highs. There's uptrends. The Qs, the leader, started underperforming a little bit last week. That's near the prior pivot high. So some underperformance. We'll keep an eye on this throughout the week and going into next week to see what semiconductors are doing and other tech. Do they continue to underperform? We'll see if the VIX starts to perk up. Sentiment just started to get in here. It could go not really significantly in here. So we're going to get some upside. I think our internal gauges are still, borderline neutral to starting to get bearish. So the opportunities that we hear, during this period of time are going to dissipate. Keep your expectations in alignment, and we'll see how it unfolds. And 12:00 MT Live. I'll drop the link. All yours, Dan.
Good morning. Hope everybody had a great holiday. These holidays mess up when I'm counting bars. Kind of feels like Monday a little bit, which the good thing is then we have a 3-day week. All right, we actually had a GIF this morning in Wolf. We sold pre-market. So this was one actually when the trade review comes out today. This is the subject of it. I talked about JWN and one other one I forgot, talking about when can we trade deep retracements, buy setups, and that was a beautiful example. And I actually thought about putting Wolf in that trade review too, but it's more of a bottoming pattern. But it broke out, deep retracement, and then we have the fact that we had these 2 red bars ignored made it a 4-bar turn. So we've been in this for a while, getting a nice little gap up. They got some 10-year contract or whatever, and we just sold it in the strength. So that I'm done with that. Very nice trade. And I don't have a single other alarm going off. There's some tit for tat going on with China, and that's what's rattling the market here a little bit. They're restricting some materials that we need in chips, and that is helping this company, MP. Nice little gap breakout. Has room to the 200. So let's watch this on a pullback. I mean, I love patterns like this that just gap over resistance. So that would be like to the low 24s. And it's now 25.65. So it's up a lot. So there's, there's nothing I can do with it now, unfortunately, except watching it pull back. So all our opens are fine. I think Cuervo was mentioned as one that could be affected. I don't see any pre-market prints here, but you see what's the daily trades extremely messy. But as most viewers know, I have my weekly and monthly right here. So look at this. This is a bear sandwich closing breakout. Well, so once again, I'm getting my days of the week mixed up. So this is only the Monday's data. The week's not over. But if it were to close here, now look at the monthly. This is a double bottom with a higher low. And it's now above the 10 MA with a big old price void. So this, even though the daily is a big mess, I just added that to my core watch list. You need a big stop. Under this wide range bar should be fine, which is last week's. Well, yeah. Netflix got an upgrade. We were trying on this gap update, we were trying to do a put spread. 445. If this could go sideways for 30 minutes, this could be a day trade idea. Has a little room. UPS. I think they walked out of their strike negotiations. So that's a pretty bear. I mean, that's the biggest green bar on this entire X number of months of data. And now we're gapping to 180. Well, we're gapping like 75% into it. So if this can't bounce, this is a call spread idea for Friday. Box, why am I looking at you? It was another kind of example of a deep retracement, just slow grinder. BDX. I'm if it can chop around sideways here, it's bullish daily, weekly, monthly. Intel, this is kind of just consolidating here. Looks like it can break up or down, but I still like the monthly for a longer term bottom. It all started with this igniting bar after a breakdown failure. Deep retracement on the weekly, so that's why it's a little iffy right now. Not worth watching. Rocket Lab. Beautiful. Look at a monthly breakout. So that, watching that one for a controlled pullback buy setup. And then that will be a great entry. So what I want to see, RKLB, controlled pullback, not go more than 50% into this WRB, and then give me a reversal bar. EXPD. Now, I was seeing a lot of trades like this over the weekend, scanning that the daily is up multiple bars, but I had bullish weekly, monthly. So there's another bear sandwich closing breakout last week, closing breakout, closing monthly breakout. So that's another one. It looks fantastic on a daily pullback. Same kind of thing as the other. I would like a buy setup, and ideally it shouldn't come under this bar's low. See, so here's where it messes me up. So this was Monday. So last Thursday's low. It really should not go under that. BAC. I'm not sure what you're looking at there. It's in a sideways trend, gapping down. I don't know what to do with it. Airbnb broke out. So that would be, just eyeballing here. It's about 50% in the Monday's range. But, let's see where it closes. If it closes strong and recovers, then it could be kind of a pseudo 1, 2, 3. Disney, I mentioned on Monday, was a no-brainer put spread candidate, but with the low VIX, we've been having the problem of not getting premium. But if we can get a 1, 2, 3 on this inside bar today, then tomorrow, that would be good to go for a 1 to 3 day bounce. NOW. Put spread idea, kind of a big rectangle here, consolidation, bull rectangle, bullish weekly, bullish monthly. Marvel, same kind of rectangle kind of thing, but I like this red bar ignored. And Monday was a closing breakout. So that, keep an eye on, bullish weekly, monthly. This one was a day trade short idea on Monday. Here, Bloomin, closing breakout, daily, weekly, monthly. It's actually another bear sandwich weekly. And that was a buy setup on the monthly. I'm gonna put that in a window. That looks good. BLMN. See. Yeah, bullish 15-minute. Could be a day trade. Not crazy about it as a swing. It's up a lot of days and you got a ton of overlapping bars, but possible day trade, 30-minute high. JB Hunt. That'd be a great put spread idea. If there's any juice at 175. VTR was a 1, 2, 3 bullish daily, weekly, monthly. That resistance here, but look at the way it's just churning up here. Let's see if we can get a 1, 2, 3. Charlie Foxtrot. I like if it can get over this red bar. I'm going to set an alarm at 70-80 just to be alerted early. And there I already have an alarm at 71. So just lower it to 20 cents. GVA. And I got a couple of alarms going off here. GVA, bold rectangle consolidation. You can set an alarm at 40-25 if you want. See if we can get above that. It's a bullish weekly, monthly. And I already have an alarm for 40 spot 30. I'll just lower that a dime. All right, MET. I had an alarm go off. All right, we were in trail mode on this, so that is stopping out. Or let me just get 5-minute low. QTWO, we've been in trail mode. All right, this was, wow, it's a slow mover, but we've been in that as a little buy setup, full flag kind of thing. So let's move stop 5-minute low on QTWO. And then I had dunking alarm. Yeah, we bought this breakout over here and it's kind of just been dead money, but it's bullish weekly. I'll just set a new low alarm, 2560. And Q's perking nice 5-minute bar on the Q's. So I look up and see what's moving it. Netflix is the winner. That's the one I said, 30-minute high. See, because of the bullish pre-market. Even with chips down, AMD relative strength. AMD, that was another one, is that we were going to sell a put spread over here on this small gap up day. And there was stupid no premium again. Lester.